So we're picking up where I'm 13 years old. And we're still living out in Randallstown. That's in Baltimore County in Maryland. And we lived in this cul-de-sac. And when we first moved out there, there was nothing but white people. We were the first white people to move out there. But by the time my parents ended up getting a divorce and he kept the house and my adopted mom took me and moved us to Woodlawn. By that time, all the people who were white, except for one family, had moved out. And they were all black people. A lot of people. The second black people to move in there were from like Jersey. They were really, really cool. They were all like working class families and stuff like that. So that happened to a lot of the neighborhoods back where I'm from, Baltimore. So at that time, I had these two little homegirls that I was running around with that I thought were my friends. This little white girl named Dana and this Jewish girl, like, actually Jewish. Like, her parents did not speak English. Her little cousin had never seen black people. She came over there speaking, but they speak Yiddish. And go and ask her, am I made of chocolate? Because she had legit never seen a black person. Like, they were real Jewish. I thought they were my friends. They were not. At 13, I got my first little boyfriend. He didn't even like me. He was a black boy that liked white girls, apparently, because he ended up going out with my best friend. And it was one of those situations where, I don't know. I don't even know, like, why would he was with me. Like, maybe it was some sort of joke. That was the type of person I was in grade school. I was the type of person that was the joke but didn't know that I was the joke. Like, I would get invited to parties that I clearly was the oddball, and it was purely for entertainment. Like, things that you would see in a movie, characters you would see in a movie that would get invited to places and they would just, like, dump paint on her, or just, like, a guy would pretend to be into her, and then everybody would laugh at her. That was me. And it was just an embarrassing relationship. I remember that he stood me in front of him, and he went like this to my body. He was like, "You ain't got no curves at all. At all." And then he started going out with my best friend right in front of me. We would all be hanging out together, and she'd be all in his lap and stuff like that. So I've been letting people disrespect me and not treat me well my entire life. So when I say I didn't have any friends, I didn't. So clearly that relationship didn't work. And then I met someone else. Now, that little boy that did that to me was the last relationship that I had with someone that was my own age. This next guy that I met was 21, 17, 21. I don't know. I know I was 13. I was 13. And once again, I thought that this was going to be a long-standing relationship. I was still playing with dolls. And I would go over there and have sex with him. For some reason, I always connected sex with love. And I don't know how that happened. I didn't find out that I was pregnant with him until after we had already moved out of Randallstown into Woodlawn. So between the time that I had gotten pregnant by him and not known it, my adoptive parents had broken up. So I had to switch schools and move to a whole different neighborhood. And that was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare. And I found out I was pregnant after being dumped. He dumped me, gave me an STD that I didn't know about. And it was so long ago, I don't even know what it was. Clearly it wasn't something that you keep. But it is something that will divert your egg into your tube. And I had a tubal ligation, and I almost died. I was sitting on my floor in my mom's new house after she'd gotten a divorce from my adopted dad. And I just had this horrible pain in my stomach. And I just doubled over and I couldn't get up. And I'm just like crying and screaming. So she's calling 911. And then my uncle, who lives across the street, ran over there. I guess I don't even know how he knew. I don't even know how he knew to come over there. Maybe she called him. Because I don't think she did call the ambulance, which is weird. Because why wouldn't you call an ambulance? Either way, he came over there, so I'm just assuming that she called him. And he carried me to the car, and they drove me to the hospital. Come to find out, that is where we found out in the ER right there that I was pregnant. Because they did the little test and looked in my stomach. Which was horribly embarrassing. Like, I'm whole ass 13. My mom doesn't even know anything about my life. Clearly didn't know I was having sex. Didn't know I had a boyfriend. Like I said, I still played with dolls. Whole ass had Barbies and everything. Hardcore played with toys. Had a whole boyfriend on the side. A grown ass man. She did not know. And I'm just sitting here pregnant. They thinking I have like a bowel obstruction. And there is a whole baby inside of my tube. Need emergency surgery. Go into the emergency surgery. Come back out. Come to find out, my tube, the reason I was crunched over like this, had exploded. My stomach had filled up with blood, and I almost died on that table. I remember them doctors playing Britney Spears before I fell out. You know how they give you the gas? They tell you count back. They were in there dancing, listening to music. Oh, yes. Yes, it is true. Doctors do stuff like that. They did that. But, yeah, shout out to the doctors out in Baltimore. They have some of the best doctors in the world. You know, they saved my life. But that was crazy, and it changed my relationship with my mom, clearly. Because before then, she just saw me as this square, straight-A student, always reading, going outside, playing with animals, stuff like that, and then you just pop out pregnant. Like, she was not pleased. And that sent me into a downward spiral because I was really in love with this dude. And so my parents' relationship breaks up. I have to move from my childhood home to a completely new neighborhood. To me, in the ghetto. Because in the city, to a county girl, is in the ghetto. To a neighborhood where nobody wanted me there, nobody knew me. Having to go to a new school, after having my heart broken, losing a baby, contracting an STD I did not know that I had, and then having to deal with the fact that your mom now knows that you're a whore. Great. So that was my reality for a long time. I spiraled so bad. When I tell you the depths of pain that I felt, I didn't think there was any coming back. I attempted to take my life so many times. It was usually with taking too many pills. And it didn't work, so I would end up hallucinating and throwing up. And I just ended up getting hospitalized after that in the psych ward for attempting to take my life. And, you know, it's like, how do you deal with something like that at 13? And then there was no follow-up care. There was no aftercare. I didn't get any therapy. We didn't even have a conversation. She just stopped talking to me. And I just fell into a depression that was so deep. I didn't talk. I didn't eat. I didn't. See, now, when I say depression, I don't know what people mean when they say that. But when I say depression, when I fall into a depression, there is no food. There is no God. There is no sunlight. There is no air. There is no hope. There is no breath. There is nothing. There is nothing but darkness. That's it. There's no functioning. There's no showering. There's no going to school, going to work. There's no responding to you when you speak to me. A knocked door will stay unanswered forever. And I stayed like that for years at a time. Trauma, shut down. 3 to 5 year time span. Come out of it. Be okay for a little while. No support system. Get on drugs. Fall into the darkness. 3 to 5 year span. Come out of it. No support system. Another trauma. Get back on drugs. So on and so forth. Until you look up, it's been 15 years. You don't know where the fuck you are. You don't know what's going on. And you have to learn how to be a human being again. It's this repeated pattern that has happened over and over again to me. Being put in the same vulnerable situations and being, I don't want to say not strong enough. Not knowing I was strong enough. Not knowing how to defend myself. Not knowing how to say no or protect myself or respond. When someone touches you inappropriately and you don't know what to do and you just freeze. Some of us don't do that. But that was me. And it wasn't until I met Ghost, my husband, who's now my dead ex-husband, who I had 6 kids by, that I learned how to defend myself and not be a victim. Next time we're going to pick up where I'm in Randallstown now, and my adoptive parents have broken up, and I have a hole in my gut right now, like no baby there now. And so now I have come back home from the hospital with no child inside of me, walking in the emptiness and the silence and the shame of what just happened. And then it drove me to try to attempt to take my life, which did not work, which then I'm in a psych ward now. Not crazy, I'm depressed. So I wasn't there long. Sent back. So now they have me on antidepressants. Wow, thank you for introducing me to a new brand of hell. Because let me tell you what antidepressants did to me. They would give me horrible nightmares. And I couldn't hear spirit anymore. Before that, spirit could speak to me all the time. I could hear spirits. I could hear spirits in the wind and in the trees. It was easy to communicate with animals, especially dogs. I could hear people's thoughts. But on antidepressants, there was none of that. And my sleep cycle was just off. I felt like a ghost, a shadow of myself. But it was the nightmares that made it even worse. I don't know if I started astral projecting before or after that, but I had night terrors for years, and I did not know that I was astral projecting until years later. But it still gives me very uncomfortable feelings to think about some of those dreams that I would be trapped in. When horrible things would be happening that you couldn't control, or that I didn't know I could control, like in a dream, right? But I didn't know I was dreaming. I didn't know I was dreaming. How can it just be a dream when you're experiencing things that you haven't experienced in real life, but you know what they are? I.e., why do I know what burning bodies smell like? You know? Why do you wake up and there's just like a charred smell in your nose, and you had dreams about burning bodies and burning buildings and meteorites falling from the sky and these huge, huge ships in the sky and seeing 3 moons and just seeing all of these strange things and not knowing that it's a dream. And then you wake up and the sky is the same color as your dream was. So now you're trying to figure out, am I actually awake? Am I awake? Or am I asleep? And that's your reality. Before you've even taken any drugs. Trippy stuff. Trippy stuff, man. You gotta be careful with people. You never know what they've been through. And that's why I don't want to have another relationship. I do not. My husband, Ghost, we spent 20 years together. When we first met, we spent the first 3 years doing nothing but talking. Nothing but talking and making love and eating and doing drugs and staying in the house and talking, being high, playing with the kids, watching them grow, talking to each other, making music. That was our reality. Selling drugs, doing drugs, cooking, making babies, playing with the babies, cleaning the house, wash, rinse, repeat. That's it. That was our reality. It was supposed to be that. It was just supposed to be that. How do you that can't be recreated, and I don't want to duplicate it either. So I kind of feel stuck, and I don't know how people do it. Start over? There is no start over for me. If someone met me, they would have no clue unless I told them what I've been through. And if I were anyone else, that would make me a very dangerous and toxic person to them. That makes me not want to have a relationship ever again. I'm so curious to see how my life turns out. I love you. We'll pick this up next time. Peace.